Part 1. The endless beginning. In the dry heat of the Egyptian desert, where the wind carried the sound of sand more than the sound of life, the work of eternity began. Day after day, under a sun that never seemed to set, men chipped away at stone, carving resting places for kings who had not yet been born. The story of Egypt's tombs wasn't a tale of sudden inspiration. It was a long, slow evolution stretched across 3,000 years. From the first humble mud brick mastabas to the towering pyramids of Giza, every layer of stone told the same message: time doesn't hurry in the land of the dead. The earliest builders, centuries before the pharaohs we remember, believed that death was merely a pause. So they built homes for the afterlife, rooms filled with jars, chairs, and carvings, all meant to last forever. Forever, however, required patience. The workers, hundreds of them, spent decades digging, cutting, polishing, and painting, often without seeing the final result. Each sunrise looked the same: teams of laborers dragging stone blocks up dusty ramps, overseers shouting half-heartedly, and the distant hum of chisels echoing off the cliffs. The Nile flowed quietly nearby, feeding the villages of those who toiled for gods and kings. And though dynasties rose and fell, the work never truly stopped. Every generation simply picked up where the last had left off, building, carving, perfecting. No one hurried. There was no need. Eternity, after all, had plenty of time. Part 2. Stone for the gods. The Egyptians didn't just build for kings. They built for gods who demanded perfection. Every block, every line carved into stone carried divine significance. The work was not simply construction. It was worship through labor. In the Old Kingdom, this devotion gave birth to one of humanity's greatest feats: the pyramids. The step pyramid of Djoser rose first, a staircase to the heavens. Then came Sneferu, who experimented with angles and designs until the form was perfected. And finally, Khufu, whose great pyramid still stands, defying time itself. But behind the perfection were countless hands, workers, artisans, and slaves, all organized with near-military precision. They lived in temporary cities built beside the pyramids, where bread and beer were rations, and songs about the afterlife replaced rest. To carve stone for eternity meant giving your own life to it, piece by piece. Every strike of a chisel was an offering. Every wall painted with gold and ochre was a promise that the pharaoh's soul would live forever among the stars. The Egyptians believed that if the tomb was perfect, the afterlife would be too, and so they built not just monuments but doorways to eternity. The heat, the weight, the exhaustion, all were part of their faith. These weren't merely tombs, they were engines. Part 3. The Valley of Shadows. When the age of pyramids ended, Egypt's builders turned away from the open desert and looked to the cliffs of Thebes. Here they carved secret tombs directly into the rock, deep chambers hidden from looters, guarded by curses and labyrinthine corridors. This was the birth of the Valley of the Kings. The new pharaohs no longer sought to touch the sky. Instead, they sought to hide from death's thieves. Inside these tombs, the walls were alive, covered with spells from the Book of the Dead, painted in lapis blue and ochre gold. Torches flickered over scenes of gods, serpents, and the endless journey of the sun through the underworld. For the artisans who carved these wonders, life in Deir el-Medina was strange, both privileged and perilous. They lived in an isolated village, paid in grain and beer, forbidden to reveal what they built. Yet their hands preserved eternity. They drew the faces of kings and queens who would outlive empires, and though they worked in secrecy, their artistry sang louder than any trumpet of war. Their chisels told stories not of conquest but of transcendence. They were builders of dreams, shaping death into something beautiful. The valley was more than a burial ground. It was a silent cathedral where faith met fear, where every echo of the hammer reminded the living that even gods needed tombs.